Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, your boy, TPT, coming at you, not live and not from Twitch TV. So, as you all probably know, obviously we had the Leviathan release a couple weeks ago. I think it was, actually no, was it last week or was it the week before? I'm not sure, but either way, it's quite recent. And it was a fuck up. And so I just wanted to give my thoughts, in a live context. I didn't want to write like a script, because I felt like, I might have been less sincere than I otherwise wanted to be. And I just, I just really want to just talk about my general feelings about Leviathan, because it was a fuck up. It was a fuck up, and I don't really think we're going to be getting anywhere by pretending otherwise. Is it the only time they fucked up? No, but should they have learned their lesson by now? Yes. I feel like after you release multiple bad DLCs with the same problems occurring in them each and every time, that maybe it's time to do a little bit of internal reflection, you could say. Maybe it's time that we considered that what we're doing here isn't necessarily, and by we I mean Paradox, of course, is not necessarily the best way to approach the game. Now, first of all, I'd like to make something very clear, okay? This release, I am probably about 99% sure that this release is not the fault of the developers themselves. I believe it is the fault of the Paradox Interactive corporate. I'd like to make that very clear, okay? I don't have any problems with the developers. I think that, honestly, this DLC, they've clearly put a lot of work into this DLC, and separating the contents from all of the bugs and everything, which is not their fault. They were clearly not given it enough time. There's a lot of good content in there for it, and that is something we can thank them for, because that was them. It's very commonly known that within video game companies, there's a crunch time mentality. Specifically with larger companies. When you're an indie developer, there definitely is a bit more leeway, because you don't have that similar system of corporate. You have probably a bit more maneuverability, as compared to a company like Paradox, which is obviously quite significant in size. And so I do think that we can thank them for, at the very least, some really nice concepts, and some very nice new mechanics, albeit with very shoddy execution. So obviously I can talk about the negatives, but I can also talk about the positives as well. I love the new native overhauls. Obviously there are problems with the federations, and those have already been fixed to an extent. With this, you'll see more of this save in the future. I'll be doing a video on this one, actually. But in particular, some of the mechanics for the federation have already been improved. So does Zero going not have one? Try it. Oh yeah. Then I cannot see it. It's very weird. Why can I not see their federation? They don't have one. That's why. All right, we'll try it out. Here we go. So originally with the federations, there was a bit of a questionable mechanic, in the sense that people of your culture were they increased the federation gain, and people not of your culture decreased the federation gain. And and so I was really not a huge fan of that. I thought it was pretty shoddy. I definitely just did not like it at all, because you normally don't really have a lot of people in your culture. There's like, especially like I was playing as the Sioux, and they just don't have a lot of people that are actually their culture, and it's pretty shitty to play with, to be honest. Because like you only get a couple members, and I thought that like it just makes it much harder to grow. However, now they've changed quite a number of the bonuses. So first of all, if they're a neighboring federation, you gain. Oh, sorry. Well, like if they're neighboring you, you gain quite a bit of extra cohesion. Which, first of all, that makes sense. Now, if they are a member, they give you 0.1. But if they're the same culture, then they'll give you a bonus for it. As you can see there, because they're all the same culture, they have the 100% bonus. And I like that a lot more because obviously it still balances out to an extent. But it means that being able to get federal cohesion is a lot easier because you used to, if I had 3 members, I'm only gaining 0.6. And as soon as I take one of the Federation advancements, I'm already down to 0.5. As you can see here, they're gaining, at least a little bit more. And I definitely like that a lot more. I think it's more, it feels a lot more balanced. But anyway, there's some other, sort of, things that I like Zoroastrian got a bit of love, even if it is very similar to the Coptics. I still like that they are paying attention to those sort of religions, because Zoroastrians are they're a very tiny religion. They only start off with 2 provinces. There's no countries that actually start as Zoroastrian. I'm pretty sure Yaz starts as Shia. Yeah, like they don't, or maybe Sunni, but they don't start, with any countries as Zoroastrian. You have to force yourself to convert, and there was no point to convert. Now, with the monument here, I personally even thought prior to the nerf that the monument was still quite fair, because Zoroastrian is still a very weak religion. It's definitely better now, but like no one really takes it. It's never been meta. If you play over here, you go Shia. That's just how it is. So I didn't really understand all of the. I understood a little bit. It probably was a little strong. Just in general, obviously 10% discipline probably was a little much. I definitely think they could have left the land fire and fire damage received perfectly alone. I'm gonna just reduce the discipline a little bit, maybe to 5 to 7.5%. But now, it's Zoroastrian's going back to being just a meh religion, and you'll never really take it in multiplayer. You obviously can take it in single player if you're going for more of a, role play sort of design. Obviously if you're trying to role play as someone who's Zoroastrian, you can still take it. It's still available to be used. But it just it feels like it actually does have some relevancy, because frankly back in the day it used to have absolutely none. Now it does have a very sort of, again, it's quite niche, because it is still very difficult to convert to. It starts obviously in Timurids lands, and good luck with that, unless you're actually playing the Timurids, etc. But I at least think, it adds more to the religion. I like what they've done to Australia. Australia actually starts off with natives in it now. As an Australian, obviously, I wholeheartedly support that. Definitely felt very barren prior to that. But, all good things must come to an end, and you've obviously got to consider the negatives as well. The estates system is, the diets in particular, not really working properly. I'm not sure about this, if this technically works, but I'm actually currently in the process of testing it, but I accidentally took this mission without realizing that I don't actually unlock the mills until Tech 16, which is what you need for... yes, I don't unlock the mills for Tech 16, which is what you need for paper. So I'm currently testing to see if building a rampart actually completes that. But I'm going to be pretty pissed off if it doesn't, because that's just another problem with the estates. Also, like, I remember earlier, I actually took this is actually on stream, this is streamed. I streamed a little bit of this game, and I encountered about 4 glitches in about an hour and a half of streaming, maybe 2 hours, probably less though, which, you know, is probably saying something. I think, yeah, that's right. So I took the estate, the mission, the diet, and no mission came up. I couldn't pick any options for the agendas. And, you know, I didn't get any negative benefits or anything. But about a couple years later, I reloaded for a different glitch. Because about 5 years later, I had a different problem. So I reloaded. And then my estate mission was there. And the time, like the expiry date, was as if I had originally used it back in, you know, when I first clicked the button. So it was there, I just couldn't see it. Some of my events didn't pop up properly. I had problems with my air, like for some reason. So this guy in particular, specifically, actually, I think it was. First of all, can I just say, I don't know how I got a Timurid on the throne. I have no idea. But you know, I got an heir, and it wouldn't let me disinherit it because it said there were pending events. So I reloaded the save. I clicked a pending event which was there because I just couldn't see it, and then I got another heir as well, so I didn't even have to disinherit him. I just got a 366 anyway because he's pretty crappy, so I was obviously gonna give him the boot. But you know, I got another heir anyway for free. I didn't have to do anything, and I was like, okay, no complaints here. I mean, that was probably an okay glitch, but I was a bit, you know, it was still annoying that I had to reload in the first place because I couldn't see events that were popping up. I don't know if I suffered any modifiers from those events. I have no idea because obviously I couldn't see them. I didn't know it was a problem until I tried to disinherit because there was nothing else that was suggesting otherwise. That was obviously, you know, it was a bit frustrating. You know, like I'm just trying to have fun, and suddenly it's like, oh, hey, by the way, these aren't loading, so you'll need to reload the game. But obviously, you know, I hadn't figured that out myself. It didn't tell me jack shit, which is quite unfortunate. You know, God, what else can we talk about? I do like the introduction of cloves. I think that's a pretty cool one. It's 8 goods produced, but it's only in these 2 provinces with a chance of spawning in these 4, and this one here when it's not colonized. I do like that little introduction of more trade goods. I think it'd be nice if we had more trade goods. I would also like ideally I'd like an overhaul of the trading system. It's pretty nice. It was 5% trade efficiency. You know, overall, I'd like just a general overhaul of the trade system completely, but, you know, I mean, you know, that's probably asking a bit much already. But, you know, I think the trade system, I'm not really a big fan of how it so predominantly favors Europe. I would like to see some more, you know, like potential for Asian love, and maybe at least like multi-directional nodes, because there's just some node like Lhasa, garbage node. I think it was, yeah, Katsina, garbage node. Great Lakes, garbage node. You know, like any start node is just automatically you don't want to play there because it's garbage. You know, and I don't really see why trade has to flow through to Europe. Why, you know, obviously, you know, you have the Spice Road here, but I'm sure there was plenty of stuff that Europe could trade with Asia and just, you know, send it back along the Suez up here and, you know, rise back in China. I don't really see why you have to limit yourself to that so much. But, you know, that is probably asking too much. And I saw some, moving on. So I remember looking at a screenshot from, I believe it was Remy Down Under, who, because he was one of the people that got an early copy of the game. By the way, Paradox, if you would like to send me an early copy of the game, I will happily QA for you, because it's clear that most of your QA team has quit, judging by the articles that I read sometime around the end of last year. And frankly, judging by the state of this game, I would probably assume that you haven't really hired a proper QR staff back, or alternatively, they're totally understaffed, because I feel like they probably would have picked up on a lot of this. And, I mean, something to note is that, so anyway, with what Remy said, he said that he reported quite a few bugs to Paradox, but that allegedly they're already quite aware of them. And if you're already if you're already aware of the bugs, why haven't you patched them? Well, the answer is because they were setting a deadline. They didn't have a chance to patch them because they were so busy getting pushed by the by those scummy corporate suits, that they didn't really have the time to. And I feel like, the indication that they're aware of it but didn't fix it, it wouldn't be a decision of the developers. Most likely it would be they want to produce good games. You've seen, obviously the copy pasta that I shit talked, right? It was total garbage. Okay, the guy's a complete idiot, but he still makes a good point. Like Jake and that, they were part of the EU4 community. They've been playing this game for a very long time. They enjoy this game. They like this game, and I really doubt that they would willingly make a subpar product if they had the choice. I would say the vast majority of them wanted to produce a good product, and they were just forced to release it subpar because of the deadlines. So again, I have no hatred towards the devs. I can tell that there has been a lot of time and effort put into this patch. If it wasn't for all these bugs, this probably would have been one of the a very, very high tier DLC. Because I think it has added a lot to the game. I think a lot of it is really good. I love the new Majapahit, disasters, or the reworking of here. Again, the natives, all that stuff. It's all really nice, but it's just so overshadowed by the blatant negatives that you can't get a chance to talk about the positives because you're just so busy pointing out the repeated and just in-your-face problems, and you sort of saw this because Paradox was able to fix so many bugs like a day after they released it, because they've now hit their deadline and they have a chance to be able to start doing damage control. That also suggested to me that it wasn't the dev's choice to release it with so many bugs, because it's as soon as their deadline hits, they're now able to fix all those bugs. They were clearly aware of them, but they didn't have the time, and that's shown by as soon as the thing gets released, they start patching them already. I feel like that says enough about about the about the game and about the development cycle of the game, to show that it wasn't the dev's fault, it was the corporates. And again, I think that that's something that people just don't seem to pick up on as much as they should. They obviously do know, that there definitely is some people that know that it was corporate's fault, but I feel like there are a lot of people that just also seem to not be acknowledging that fact. They're not looking at the suits behind it, they're looking at the faces of the game, like Johan and that. Okay, those people don't have the final say when it comes to deadlines and that. Johan's obviously pretty high up, but he still has people to answer to, and I don't think he would be one to want to release a game like this. Although, to be fair, I do think it was also a bit interesting how I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but there was a particular thing in the game. It was like the mandala system or something, which is originally supposed to be in the game if you have Dharma or Leviathan, but was only in the game if you had Leviathan specifically. And they were told, that was in the patch notes. Okay, it's literally said if you have so originally they said if you had either, but then in the patch notes and that it said if you have Leviathan. And someone asked them about if this is correct, and they were told it was a bug by I'm not going to say who, but they were told by a Paradox member, like by a Paradox staff, sorry, that it was a bug, and that Johan had told that Paradox staff member that it was a bug, despite it being in the official patch notes, which I do also find a little strange. So, I think that Johan and that probably do have some extent to the blame, but I also feel like the majority isn't their fault, and I feel like it's important that I keep on continuing to acknowledge that, so that people understand. Look, overall, I don't recommend the DLC currently. Like Steam wise, I don't recommend it. I know I put it as recommended in my review because I was clearly joking, but I don't. And so do 93% of people. However, I think if you wait enough time, eventually I think this patch will be worth playing. But I want to support the developers. I just hate to have to support the people that caused this mess in the first place. Because I do love this game. I've played EU4 for coming up on 3,000 hours now. I love this game, and just the fact to just see it getting stomped into the dirt on repeat just really fucking hurts to look at. I love this game. I love this game. I've been playing it for over 6 years now, and it's just getting fucking stomped into the ground, and I just hate that. Because I mean, for a start, a lot of my channel is built around this game. Like, I would say the majority of my subscribers come to my channel to watch, me talk about this game. I mean, I'm pretty sure that five of my top 6 videos, or 4 of my top 6 videos are on this game, and it probably a lot of the ones after that too are too. I would say like 8 of the top 10 are probably on this game too. Like I have a dedicated commitment to this fan base and to this game, and so I really want Paradox to do something about it. Which brings me on to my next point, about the QA, which I did briefly mention, but I just want to talk about this finally. I won't go on too much longer because I don't want this video to be, an hour long, so I'll just try and keep it relatively simple. But, we all know that Paradox has had problems with its QA staff in about the past year. The vast majority of the department was laid off. And because of that, it's quite clear that the products that they've been releasing since that point have been substandard. I will link to the article I'm particularly referring to in the comments down below. It's from Rock Paper Shotgun. It was published September last year, and it does detail, at least up to the point it was published, quite well. And I mean, QA stuff have always been treated like shit. That's extremely common in the gaming industry. And like, if Paradox has such a problem with the QA stuff, honest to God, if you gave this game to a select group of fans for free, make him sign an NDA disclosure, an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. Obviously, you don't want them leaking, stuff. Pay him a little bit, right? Don't even have to pay much. Don't even have to pay a minimum salary, because they won't care, because they're fans of the game. And get them to bug test it, because people noticed bugs in this game almost instantly. If I was a QA tester, I would have noticed so many of these bugs practically instantly. And the fact that they were noticed but weren't fixed, or they weren't noticed and weren't fixed, like for example the calling in allies exploit, that one clearly wasn't noticed because they didn't patch that until after, like a little while after the release. They didn't patch it with the day one thing, despite it most likely being very easy to patch. But like, one of the strongest tactics you can have in business is convincing your members to work. Convincing people to work for little to no reward. Right? I would say it's definitely maybe a little exploitative. But if they're fans, most people would probably be signing up to do it. You wouldn't have to ask them. People would be, requesting to do it. And they may not necessarily have the same professionalism level as a professional, fully paid QA tester, but it'd be a lot cheaper. It'd be a lot more within your budget, You know, I'm sure you probably don't have a big budget. I really doubt Tinto is that big of a studio. And, you know, you'd be able to save quite a bit of money on that, which is most likely something that the suits would care about. And on top of that, you'd also probably be releasing a lot more published of content. It'd be a lot more published. Sorry, not published. My correction. Polished. Your content would be a lot more polished. You know, you wouldn't have just 3 pages of glitches. You wouldn't have, you know, Ludi at Historia releasing, you know, like fucking 8 videos a week, because that's how many glitches he seems to find. I do like him, by the way. I would recommend checking him out. He's a pretty cool guy. But yeah, like, you wouldn't be having these problems if you're getting them, you know, QA tested properly. And also, obviously, hopefully, this, you know, Leviathan DLC being the lowest ranked game on Steam out of absolutely everything, less than half of the next lowest ranked game. Hopefully, at least, the suits might realize that they actually need to set aside some, you know, extra time. They might, you know, there's a chance that they might actually need to delay the publishing a little bit. You know, hell, if you delayed the publishing like a week, all right, you probably wouldn't lose. You might, okay, look, you might lose a little bit of support from the fan base. Okay, you know, they probably wouldn't be totally okay with it. That's a price you have to pay. All right, if you released it 1 week later, you would probably receive an infinitely better response. Right, because I'm pretty sure that this DLC has killed hundreds, if not thousands, of fans from the Paradox, and specifically the EU4 community. You know, I mean, honestly, it's really starting to bite into me, and I fucking love this game. I'll probably continue to play it. I'm not going to pretend otherwise, but it's really nulled my enjoyment of this game. And you wouldn't have that problem if you just push back the release date by, hell, push it back by like 3 days. Doesn't even have to be a full week, you know? But you need to sort of understand that there has to be a little flexibility. You can't push out an unfinished product, you know? Hell, I mean, if this was anything but a video game, you'd probably get lawsuits for false advertising. Now, that's not too much of a problem with video games, because the laws on video game false advertising are very, very easy to avoid it, as proof of, say, for example, the No Man's Sky situation. And to be fair, that game also ended up turning out fucking great. Those devs ended up doing a really good job of fixing their mistake, and now it's a, fucking 9 out of 10 game. You know, it's an amazing game now, because they realized that they fucked up. They didn't do anything. They completely went silent. Came back in a couple months and fixed so much of the game. And they did it again. And it worked. Okay, I don't know if Paradox is able to pull off something like that, but my god, if they could, it would be beautiful. So I'm hoping that at least following Leviathan, EU4 turns into the next No Man's Sky, where you go from this dog-piled on game to something with its own character. You know, something that the fan base is proud to be a part of, like they used to be. I hope it becomes something that I can proudly say, you know, I enjoy playing EU4 and I enjoy being part of the community, because right now I'm just not so sure. So anyway, guys, look, I hope you have enjoyed. Again, I know this wasn't scripted, so it probably definitely, you know, could have been worded a bit better, but I just wanted to get my thoughts out. I just wanted to talk about my proper thoughts. Look, I'll still probably continue to buy Paradox games. I don't really. This is actually the first DLC that I bought on the day it released. So this put a really fucking sour taste in my mouth. But as long as Paradox is willing to learn from their mistakes, even if it, you know, look, fool me once, shame on me. Fuck, no. That's the phrase. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But frankly, if you fuck up twice, it's still a shame on you. So, I'm hoping that they finally learned, because I don't think the Emperor response was harsh enough. You know, it clearly didn't go through to them, so I'm hoping that with this sort of response, they might actually do something. Anyways, guys, I hope you have enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.